Good evening and welcome to this edition of the IslandStats.com Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is my co-host, Jason Juggling J. Ford. And this evening we are joined firstly by Ross Roberts, who is the national coach of Bermuda Archery. Juggler, the archery team recently competed in the Las Vegas shoot. And we're going to be talking about just that shoot, as well as what's on the horizon for our archers and anybody else that wants to get involved. But Ross, take us through the team that represented Bermuda at the Las Vegas shoot.
Okay. Good evening, all. Sport Bermuda. We basically had a junior team that was there, which consisted of Robin Sally, Nadira Smith, and Jaden Roberts. They represented our juniors. And in our seniors, we had Cameron Pickering, Bernard Wade, and Aline Weeks. And, you know, we had a really good performance from these guys. This is the first time we've done this event. This is, you know, it's the largest indoor competition in the world. And it showed by the numbers. I mean, I think we had 3,911 archers that took part in it. Yeah, and it was all indoors. So imagine that. And, you know, with their coaches, with their families and stuff like that. And it was a pretty big event. And it was an eye-opener for us. We're glad we took part in it. It was definitely worth the effort. We learned a lot from it because the format of this event is slightly different from most of the World Archery events. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we learned a lot from it, and it's one of the things that we've talked about for so long, but we haven't done it because we always do the Lancaster Classic in January, and then after that, everybody's saying, "Oh no, we can't afford to go anywhere else. Let's go back home." So this year we elected to bypass the Lancaster Classic and head off to Vegas for this shoot, and I'm glad we did. Learning experience, all the vendors were there, so you know we got a chance to meet quite a few friends that we know, and also talk to all the vendors about all the new equipment and stuff like that. So that was a big plus to it.
Sure. One of the big things that we talk about a lot in Bermuda, Jason, in our sports is equipment. We tend, because we're so far away, we always tend to utilize the equipment that we have for a very long time. But just hearing Ross there, that all the vendors were there. So Ross, how much has equipment changed over the last year?
Exactly. Just what you said. It is constantly changing, and almost every year there's new equipment out. So, you know, you have to elect to sometimes hang on to the old stuff and use that for a while, as opposed to buying something new every year. So, you know, the latest stuff's out from Hoyt. Win and Win has new stuff out. So basically, Hoyt's an American manufacturer, and Win and Win's a Korean manufacturer. So those are the two largest manufacturers there. But there's a few others, Fivix, which is also a Korean one, that are starting to come on the screen now that we're seeing more of. So, and it was good to see those guys there because they were trying to promote, you know, their products. And we've got some new shooters that have elected to go that way. One of them being the Olympic shooter that went from the U.S. Virgin Islands to the last Olympics. He's going over to Fivix. He was a Hoyt shooter, you know, he's switched over to Fivix. Fivix is his main sponsor. So, you know, when you get that sort of offer, you give up what you got and go with your sponsor. So, you know, and it's good to see, you know, one of these small countries, you know, getting a sponsor, because is pretty much the only archer in, well, I should say not the only archer, but the only, I would say, elite archer in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and he's, like I say, got to the stage of going to the Olympics. So that's a big step for these small places.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and to give you a rundown on these scores, our junior shooters were basically shooting a score out of 600. They had 2 days of shooting, was 300, a score of 300 one day, score of 300 the next day. Robin finished 5th in her division with a score of 563. Jaden finished 6th in his division with a score of 572. Nadira, I believe, I'm not sure what Nadira's spot was, but she was 557. She's one of our new juniors that's getting involved. And she was actually 65th. And the females were shooting out of a group of, remember what the number, I'm trying to think, 83 shooters.
Okay.
And that the female group, Jaden's group was 65, so he finished 6th out of 65 shooters, which for these guys' first time there, they did awesome. They did us proud for sure. Cameron in his division, what they do, they have a 3-day shoot and 300 points each day. After the first 2 days, they group everybody after the first 2 days. And they split them all up in separate divisions. It's like having an A, B, C, D all the way down. And I think they had like 12 different divisions it was broken up into.
Yeah, because they
Cameron ended up, because of his score, he ended up into Division 1.
Yeah.
And he finished 15th. Bernard ended up in Division 3. He finished 15th in his. Aline ended up in group, I believe it was
Group
12 or something, like 11, 12, right? And he won his division. So, so that was good. And they do it like this. I guess it's a Vegas thing. There's a lot of money involved in this shoot. So when they break it up like this, it gives everybody a chance of winning something. Even if you're in that lower group, if you win that group, you win some money.
Sure.
So it's something that we would definitely go back and do again. Just for these reasons. I mean, most of the shoots we do, if you're not winning it, you don't get nothing out of it.
Right.
But at least there's still another chance of getting funds out of it.
Sure.
So yeah, it was well attended, well organized. Weather was amazingly cold, but it was indoors, so it didn't matter. So, but we enjoyed it. Like I say, we would definitely go back, and it's something that we will continue to keep on on our books so that we can have that choice. In fact, there's a couple of them already that's talking about next year already, and a couple of them that want to do the Lancaster Classic and then leave the Lancaster Classic and go straight over to Vegas and do this one. So, it's getting to the point where some of them are getting, that hungry for matches that they want to stay out there. It's only a few days between the two of them. So it's pretty much enough time to either jump on a flight and go over there. It's actually enough time to drive if you wanted to drive, but it is a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drive from St. Davis to something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's quite a few of the archers that do leave Lancaster and literally do that. They leave, jump in their cars and go. And they drive all the way over there to take part in this. So, we might get a little caravan going and we'll all follow each other over.
Yeah. With two hired drivers, yeah.
Yes. Got to have a backup driver for sure.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah.
Well, first things first, welcome, Ross. But I want to say you have broke the first cardinal rule. Come on now. You and Earl have broke the cardinal rule. What happens in Vegas supposed to stay in Vegas. Why are we talking?
I believe a lot we have left behind. Yes.
One of my favorite places on earth is Irwin.
Yeah, I was shocked. I haven't been there for a few years, but I was shocked to see how it has developed in the few years that I haven't been there.
They made a lot of transformations with that.
Yes, that big stadium as you drive towards the city for one.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, for real.
Question for you, because it's just amazing that I had a friend of mine here visiting from Miami last weekend. We go on these sightseeing tours. We went down to Southside and we saw where you guys normally shoot to.
Sure.
And the first thing he says, they shoot outside? I was like, well, we ain't got no choice. You got to shoot where you can shoot, right?
Right.
You hear that you're going to an indoor competition. Let's talk about some of the differences, because it's not like you guys are training a lot. I may have heard that you guys were training somewhere inside locally.
Yes, we have been.
All right. So that's some of the differences, because obviously there's a big difference when you talk about wind and everything else, right?
For real,
and
yeah.
to prepare for a competition like this, tell us how you guys try to prepare for that.
Sure. So basically, archery is a year-round sport. So we have an indoor season, which is usually through the winter months, and we have an outdoor season through the summer months. Mm-hmm. The indoor events is shot at 18 meters on a 40-centimeter target, and that's pretty much standard for your amateurs or your professionals. It's all the same distance, all the same size target. The outdoor shoots will vary from 30 meters up to 90 meters, and which is pretty much the length of that field that we use down in Southside. Mm-hmm. So, we have an indoor training facility that we've been using, thanks to Youth Sport and Recreation, that we've been using the community center gym over at St. George's.
Nice.
Yeah, so we use that to prepare for Vegas, and we basically started a few months before Vegas, and we were shooting over there every Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, and Saturday afternoon. Mm-hmm. So that really helped out, with these guys' scores and stuff, because shooting outdoors, if the weather's bad, sometimes we're not there. We miss a lot of training sessions because of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And as you say, one's indoor, one's outdoor. It is totally different training. It's not necessarily easier indoors, because sometimes you get to some of these venues and the lighting conditions aren't what you're used to, and it takes a while to get used to that. So we like to get there at least 2 days before the event, so we can see how the ranges are set up, see what the light conditions are like on them, because sometimes we may have to change peep sights on the actual burrs for aiming, because sometimes the ones that we're using outdoors aren't as visible indoors. So we have to change them, to adapt, to make sure that, they're getting a good sight picture. So the outdoor events, obviously, when we're training for that, Bermuda's a good place to train for it, actually, because we get a bit of all weather conditions. We get the wind down there, we get the rain down there. And when you're shooting outdoors, you basically shoot in whatever conditions you have. If you get up that morning and it's raining, you shoot in the rain. So it's no covered shooting points or anything like that. You can run in the covered points when you finish your shooting your in, but while you're shooting it, you're out in the weather conditions. We had a group at the last Island Games. I think the first day of the Island Games shoot, I believe they had 30 knot winds, and I think it was raining. And I think it was like in the 40s, high 40s, 50s. It was cold, rainy, and windy. So, you have those conditions to deal with. Yeah. And, luckily so far with the World Cup events that we've been doing so far, most of them are down in South America. So the weather down there is pretty consistent. It's hot and dry. So, and if you can, and I think we have an advantage there, because we are pretty much conditioned to that temperature, the high temperatures. Mm-hmm. So we adapt to that dry weather pretty good. And when the winds are down, we welcome that. So, and all the shoots we've done so far, there's been low wind, and it's been some change of winds, which makes a difference as well. Even though the winds aren't high, you have to keep an eye on the wind flags to make sure that those adjustments you made for left to right wind stay there. Sometimes they can change and go the other way. Mm-hmm. And if you're not paying attention to the flags, then you'll find out when you shoot that arrow. So there's definitely a difference training between the two of them.
Yeah, but we're gonna take a commercial break. The only thing about South America, Jay, is that they lose your luggage a lot. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
I can't focus on more than one thing at a time.
And welcome back. Well, Ross, you ended by saying, explaining the difference between the indoor and the outdoor. When does your outdoor season get underway again?
We'll be kicking back off. The competitions will start in April, but as soon as our weather breaks a bit here, we'll be starting to train for it this month. So we'll get started. But we've already started training, really, because the stuff we're doing indoors now, even though it's indoors, it's all preparation for outdoors. So working on form is something that we're doing all the time. It seems like every time we get involved with a new coach or we go somewhere new, we talked about the equipment earlier, about how that's developing, but the actual technique of sport of archery is constantly developing. The Americans have got the eyes on the Koreans, and so is the rest of the world. And things change, and as things change, everybody's trying to keep up with it, at least testing it to see if it works for them, because some of these techniques that these lots use and may not work for all the archers. So we at least try to give it a couple of months to see how it works. And some people may stick with it, and some may go back to their old style of shooting. So, you've got your top shooters that shoot, especially the Koreans. They have their form, but you've got the unorthodox Koreans that shoot, and they are competing at the world level, and their form is totally different from what the rest of the team's doing. So, it's what works for you. Excuse me.
So let me ask you, because you've had last year, I believe, you had a coach down, talking more mental coaching than actual physical coaching
Right.
to get the athletes to understand when you're going up, you have you put yourself in a frame of mind to do certain things. When in competition, especially in major games, you're competing against somebody next to you. How important is it for you to stay focused on your target as opposed to what your opponent's doing during that period?
The good archers, they may talk to each other and whatnot, but once they get on that line, it doesn't matter who they're shooting against. They're shooting the best they can, and that's what makes the difference. If you start worrying about the other archer and what they're doing, and it's going to pull you apart. So the better you can focus on what you're doing, the better you're going to do. Excuse me.
Sure. Jay?
So and like you say, we had a coach, actually the head coach for Columbia University in New York, Derek Davis, who came on.
Yeah.
Derek is a stage 5 certified, which is the highest you can get, USA archery coach. And he works both games. He works the mental game as well as, your physical game as well, technical game. He has a really good, some really good results with Columbia University. They've did well since he's been there. They've, gone from, unknown archery club to being one of the top in the US. So, so they've done really well. And, Derek's a good guy. He helped us out a lot. We see him at competitions when we go, so we'll sit down and talk as to what's going on. So, that network is very important. So, we're constantly working on that. We've got some really good people behind us. And that's making a really big difference in our program. And, we've gone from, going to these basic Lancaster shoots, state shoots. We've done a couple of. I wasn't a big fan of the state shoots because if you're the only guest there, you're the only person shooting it. It feels like it because they don't group you if they're archers, if the U.S. archers. If you're taking part in any sort of state shoot, the best you can hope is that there's going to be quite a few guests there that you at least compete against. You can compare your scores with theirs, but you don't get ranked with them and you don't get recognized as part of that main event. So we don't do many of them, and we probably won't do many of them because of that. Right. But every now and then, if somebody's looking for that extra competition, then we may go and do it because you do get the satisfaction of being able to shoot with a lot of people and, like you say, condition yourself to pay attention to what you're doing and not what's going on around you and stuff. Just that competition readiness is only gonna get better by taking part in more competitions. So you have to try to do as many as you can afford. I guess that's basically what it boils down to. So yeah.
Jay?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ross, because obviously to get to an elite level, you need elite competition, right? To always challenge yourself. But you meant something about that just now. You touched on about what you can afford. And this is where these competitions help out. You mentioned earlier about the sponsorships, right? The sponsors being there, the vendors being there. We all know once we get to competitions and we are performing at our best, or what we say, well, their eyes are looking at us, and there are always sponsors looking to grab onto somebody. So no matter what sport it is, we've seen it happen with our local boys when it comes to bowling, whether it comes to tennis, whether Florida Duffy, even the cricket team itself. I'm pretty sure these guys, probably got some people, as you know, Earl, looking at them right now.
Yeah.
What sticker they're going to put on their bed, or what shoes, or with this, that, and the other. That only happens when we get off the island and go to these international competitions. So are you guys really, I don't want to say, I'm pretty sure you guys are, but talk about the motivation besides not just competing, but also how you can compete and be successful on a regular, because you're going to need that sponsorship money. How you guys are able to motivate the young people, because right now it might be just fun, right? But we see people on the circuit who's probably making a career out of this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably through sponsorship. I'm pretty sure it's coming out of their pocket, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We
So
take.
what are some of the pathways we can try to instill here with our young people, because that's where we have to start to instill it, and if they can see it, they can achieve it, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's one of these things I tell a lot of our juniors when they're coming into this new, if you've got a passion for it, we've got the ability to get you to where you need to go through our local training that we bring them from our grassroots, through our small local programs. And when they get to the international level, we've got those overseas contacts. As Earl mentioned earlier about mental training, we have a coach, guy Larry Wise, that we use for mental training, and he primarily is a mental coach, and he does mental coaching for archery, for target shooting. He does it for golfers. He does it for quite a few different sports, and he basically has worked with us on a few occasions as far as the mental program is concerned. So it's stuff like that we kind of latch on to. We have a shoot that we do every weekend now. It's called the Ice Nation shoot. It's an online shoot that we do. It's hosted by a company or a club in Belgium, and they basically record our scores. So it's something that we can have to look back at as far as how we brought people into this event, where they've started with these shoots. And, you can go online and you can look it up and go back in history and check your scores over the last years and see how you've been making out with it. So stuff like that, even though, as we say, when we're traveling, we need a lot of funds. At least with this, it's not even a fee that we have to do. We just take up a donation and send that to them. And that's all they're asking for. It's taken part from archers all around the world. We'll see some of our Caribbean archers there taking part in it. A lot of the big top archers, like your Olympic archers and stuff, they don't dabble in it too much. They get that recognition already. They don't need to do these smaller ones. But at least this one gives us a chance to see how we are standing up against the rest of the world. And especially we keep an eye on the brothers down south there in the Caribbean. So, we have a better idea as to how we're doing when we shoot with them. One of the things that I feel, good about is that we're already at that stage where we are competing with these guys down in the Caribbean, and not just competing, but winning against them. So, that's a good stepping stone right there. The best down there, which is probably Nick, the guy that I mentioned earlier that went to the Olympics. And, Jaden got to room with him when we went to Mexico for the training camp. And so they were roommates. So he got, to sit down and talk to him every night after training and stuff. And they, so they had a good session. So they, when they got a break, they took a few minutes and went downtown for a walk to get away from everything, and then come back the next day and back into training. And it was amazing watching them, because we were burnt out. When I say we, Jaden, we were shooting from 8 o'clock in the morning to like 8 o'clock at night, and we'd have a few breaks through there. And sometimes we would leave and go off the range and go into classroom stuff. And we would come out of the classroom saying, look, we need something to eat and get in bed. And Nick's still out on the range shooting. And so it gives you an idea of what sort of commitment you need to make to get to that level. And, to see him there training day in and day out. And he was actually there because this was a junior event. And Nick was invited to him because Nick was rated #1 junior in that Americas area. Mm-hmm. And he was invited there as sort of, a mentor to all these new junior archers and be able to talk to them and help motivate them and stuff like that. So it was, it was good for Jaden to, link up with him and get a chance to see what it was all about. Mm-hmm. And we saw the difference in him when we got back. I mean, he made quite a change in his scores. Focus wise, he always was a pretty good focuser on the archery range, but I think this helped take it to another level. And we're kind of got our eyes and ears open, waiting for when the next one may come up. Because this was an event that was basically paid for by World Archery, so everything was covered by them. He got this invitation from when he went to the Pan Am Junior Games.
Right.
And so, things like that, we may not get the sponsorships right now, but at least stuff like this, if they see you, they're making this happen. World Archery America is usually there to try and back you and support you in it.
Sure.
So,
And just talking about that, you have a very busy year coming up for your archers. You guys probably have to divide yourselves up to make sure that you get to accompany, and then give them the best support. But this year coming up, just break it down for us of what's on the horizon.
Well, as I had mentioned, Paul, we've actually, Paul Harshaw used to be the president of the Archery Association years and years ago. They did a bit of competing and stuff. They did the Island Games a few times, and he's been retired since I got involved, or probably a bit before even. So this year, because of the World Youth Games over in Limerick, Ireland, where Jaden and Robin Sell is going to be going off to, Trina's going to go with them as their coach manager. At the same time, I'll be with Cameron down in El Salvador for the CAC Games. And then Paul Harshaw is going to join the Island Games group and go with them, which would be Bernard, Aline, and Robert that's going to go off to the Island Games. So, we've got 3 coaches, one with each group that's heading out. So
Right.
that worked out pretty good. And it's good that, Trina's got her certification now. I've got mine. So, we're working on some more. A couple of the other archers have their stage 1 and 2. So we're trying to work on a few more to get a few more involved, a few more coaches qualified. And we're actually, Trina and I is going to be starting to work on our judges certification with World Archery coming up real soon. So it's something else that we'll be involved in.
Sure.
So,
lot on the horizon. Any final questions?
The other, just gonna say with this competition and stuff, I just wanted to mention too, Girl Point Archery is gonna be hosting a indoor tournament. We were waiting for confirmation for the gym. I think it's going to be in the gym over at the community center over St. George's on April 1st. So that's something we're working on now to have our final indoor competition over in the gym. I mentioned there's other 3 games that we'll all be heading out to the same time, but we're also looking at the Paris Hyundai Stage 4 World Archery event this year as well. So that's another one that a couple of us are looking to take part in.
Is that a points?
That's a world rank. That would be a world ranking one. This one's done through World Archery as opposed to like the ones we're doing now. A lot of it's World Archery Americas. So World Archery has archery split up all over the world. There's Africa, Asia, there's Americas, and so the one that we'll be looking at for Paris is World Archery in general. So all the countries. So you will have the Koreans and all the big shooters over there taking part in that one. So that's always good to watch those guys shoot.
We could beat them.
Yeah. We'll right there behind them.
Yeah.
And learning something every time. You watch these guys and we're there watching video and it helps a lot when you come back and sit down and watch some of these videos and you watch some of these Koreans when they're shooting. They're pretty amazing people.
Yeah. Any final question, Jay?
Not really. I mean, you got to have a good eye for this, and I don't know which one is my best eye, so I'm no good to you guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. We were talking about World Archery Americas. There was an archer. I can't remember, one of the South American countries, and his vision was so bad. They did a documentary on this guy, and showed what his target looked like when he's shooting. If you wear glasses and you can't see at a distance, then you take your glasses off, how everything looks fuzzy. Well, that's what his vision was like, and he elected to shoot without corrective glasses because he said it doesn't make a difference if that target is perfectly clear or if it's a fuzzy ball. If it's a fuzzy ball, you just shoot at the center of that fuzzy ball. That's all it is. So it doesn't have to be perfectly clear. So there's that eye thing sometimes. Not a good excuse. That's what I give to a lot of them.
Sure.
So,
How
so you
can
might,
people contact you guys to get involved? Even for just to try it out, because sometimes we sit back and say I might want to try that. Well, how do we get in contact with you guys?
yeah. I mean, I could. You can get a hold of Go Point Archery, and I'll be the main contact for that. And the contact number is 505-8101. The National Archery Association of Bermuda as well, but that same thing. Contact number is going to be mine as well. The main contact number. There is a
505
505-8101.
Okay.
And it's open to the public. I know a lot of people don't realize it because we don't have really good signage up down there or anything, but it is open to the public, and things are starting to pick up again finally since COVID and everything, and we are starting to see numbers starting to come back out. We're getting a lot of requests for different stuff. We've been invited back into the schools again and stuff like that, so we're really looking forward to trying to get reorganized and get back to the schools, because we were in the schools before, and as of 2020, everything closed on, and it hasn't opened back up yet. We haven't been back in the gyms. We were lucky. We were using Clearwater School Gym as a training center until that closed on, and then finally we got the youth center in St. George's, which kind of filled that void. But things are changing now, and the schools are starting to open the doors back up for us to come in and start, getting some programs involved in the schools again.
All right.
Yeah, we've got, and the other thing that we're pretty proud of as well is that we've actually got one of our members of NAB as part of the development committee for World Archery Americas. She actually sits on that committee, and that's Trina Roberts.
Okay.
So she is now sitting on that World Archery Committee. So, they've recognized us. They know all about us now. We are now sitting on the committee, so things are really pushing forward for us and going in the right direction. So, it's been a lot of hard work, but it's still a lot more work to do ahead of us. So, but we're keeping to the wicket, and as they say, the runs will come. So there you go.
Definitely.
Yes.
I want to thank you very much, Ross. You guys are doing an excellent job with the Archers, because although you guys do make the effort to be there, if they don't show up, there's nothing to strive for. There's nothing to work towards. So the group, and I see it for myself, is a major part of why you guys have had the success you've had thus far, and probably so much more in the near future. So keep it up, keep encouraging them. And
Thank you.
I just give you guys a lot of praise, because rainbow shine there, juggler. Out there.
Thanks. Well, we'd like to thank you too, Earl, because you've been a part of coming down and helping document stuff, taking pictures and everything. So one of the things we're gonna start working on with some of our archers is media training. So we're gonna get some of them with that mic in front of them, and we need to improve on that, all of us, our coaches as well as our athletes. So that's another thing that we're working on. So we're constantly working on things like that. So, but really appreciate the support you've given us, and hey, look forward to working with you for another, going into another year.
Indeed. Yes,
and
indeed.
yes, maybe we'll cross paths again. And by the way, that big you mentioned never showed up either.
Well, I know.
but since then,
It'll be there the next time you go on.
Well, since then we've invested in quite a few Apple iTags that go inside the bag so that we could track them. So.
Oh boy. Okay.
So at least next time we get in New York, and New York's telling us the bags in Bermuda, and Bermuda's telling us the bags in New York, we'll actually know where it is next time.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with this Island Stats Sports Show. We'll be right back. Thank you, Ross.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for.
I'm also thankful and grateful, because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Jay, as we know, our national cricket team is in Argentina. They've played 3 matches and won all 3. 1 match to go, but they've already qualified to play in the final World Cup qualifiers right here in Bermuda, September and October. Something that I know the players will be excited to do. Yet again, on home soil, another opportunity to advance. We were able to get over both USA and Canada the last time we hosted these matches, but this time we pretty much just need that victory. Although we don't want to underestimate the opponents we've already taken care of in this tournament, because obviously they will get better. So we don't want to underestimate them, and just focus on Canada, because I think we'll be making a huge mistake if that is the case, underestimating a team, because on any given day, the ball could beat the bat or the bat could beat the ball, and regardless of who's beating it, any team could win on the day. So the job is not completed yet in Argentina, because you want to win the tournament. You don't want to come this far and then, you let yourselves down by losing a game or so forth, and you want to go undefeated just to make a statement and help that standings and that this ODI, the numbers in the ODIs. Give me your take on the 3 matches thus far.
So 3 matches thus far. I've been quite impressed, to be honest with you. First things first, well done to the coaching staff with these group of guys, because Earl, we're out of cricket season. And you know, Earl, how hard it is to get guys commit to a game that nobody's playing here on the island.
Yeah.
Let alone go away to a competition, right? And that team's been playing.
Right.
I'm gonna put the competition to a side, because to see the competition and see what is made, the teams are made of. We should have been winning. But in saying that, cricket is one of those games, you mentioned it, right? You could take somebody for granted and you could be out on 1 ball. What I have been very impressed with is the professional approach that each player has taken towards this competition, right? Whether it's a team that we're expected to win, with going out there with with the mindset that this is the U.S. or this is Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some scores might look a little bit different because when I do look at scores, I might hear of a big score, but then I'm quick to go into say, okay, how many chances were given?
Right.
The misfields. What led to this here, right?
Yes.
So first and foremost, congratulations to Kamal.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's the first one with a century in this format internationally. I was upset, obviously, with the first game when him and Delray was so close.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you some of the things that have been surprising, and I think we spoke about it off air, is that some of our main strike builders we've seen over the probably last decade here in the island will burn a spin. Right?
Yeah.
Just showing the versatility that we had. And I can even go back to we look at our top order. You know, at one point in time, probably about 3-4 years ago, when we looked at guys in competition, we was talking about people like Trey Mendes and Terry Frey, you know, may not be built for the 2020 game. Well,
shutting you up now.
everybody up now, ain't they? Right? And the way they're being utilized when we're talking about cricket strategy using a left and a right-hander, giving the opposition something to really, really think about bowling and keeping the line. It's really working out well. Now, would we love to see the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys bet more? Of course, right?
Yeah, but if they're not needed.
If they're not needed, and I think the approach that we're taking is right now, let's look, hey, this is what we need to do, because once again, Canada and the USA, they're not, USA is already through, right? Because they're part of the host.
Yes.
So Canada, we have to be Canada. We have to be Canada. There's no if, buts, ands, because I believe only one team goes through from that tournament.
Yeah, one team goes through from Bermuda. Yeah.
So we have to beat them. And once again, they see the footage too.
Yeah.
They see the one thing about streaming now. They see the footage too. So it's not like we're just looking at scores.
Yeah.
We're actually seeing how we're going about our strategy to get these scores. So I've been quite impressed. My expectations, I tell you a lot of times, I really try not to go into too many things with expectations because you just never know when you get there, right? Rather it's hot.
Yeah.
We spoke about it many times how hot it was, right?
Yeah.
We don't see that. We see a sunny day.
Yes.
Right.
And the other day it rained and then the steam came out. So you can only imagine.
Right.
Only imagine. Yeah. And it happens in the
other thing I took note of, and I'm really, really hopefully that we can probably work a little bit more, because this fields, a couple of fields, especially the main field that we played on yesterday, we played twice. I believe we played twice on it. Had some very short boundaries, right? And I believe the fields that are picked for the tournament locally would be National Sports Center, St. David's, and probably White Hill.
It's White Hill and National Sports Center.
Okay, so we're talking, mind you, White Hill's got some couple of short boundaries.
Areas. Yeah.
But once again, I noticed when we've gone into other competitions, that was one of the things that what would normally be a 6 here locally, hold out at middle, right? So that is something that we'll be mindful of. And also, I didn't really see any quality spin bowling from the opposition, which is probably been one of our nemesis for last, I want to say, not just our nemesis, but those of the West Indies too, right? The West Indies struggle with good spinners. And that is something that I didn't really see within this tournament so far. So that is something that I'm pretty sure the coach will have some plans on how to, because Canada, we know Canada, know the Americas, they have some spinners.
That's the Sri Lankans and the Pakistanis.
Thank you. And the only way you can, you got to play against good spinners, right?
Yeah. The one thing you mentioned about the field sizes, where the World Cup is, we know it's in the Caribbean and it's in the U.S. We know for a fact the U.S. will probably have the bigger fields because they have the bigger spaces. In the Caribbean, those fields are pretty much, some like White Hill, some like St. David's, makeable boundaries. However, when you start talking about at the World Cup level, the bowlers are quality as well. You're not going to get many balls to try and put outside. However, the one thing that I do like that these guys have been doing is taking their singles.
I would say running between the wickets. Yeah, it's been
singles.
It's been something to watch, Earl, and and like I said once again, I'm just overjoyed because we're out of season. We normally see that pick up during the season, but these guys are out of season, and they're doing the small things right.
I mean, you said it earlier. You know, you want to congratulate the coaching staff on what they've been able to apply, and also congratulate the players for taking it in and taking it on.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And you know, you look at, and I'll give kudos to the physical program of it too, right? Because that is something that we've been lacking, not only just in cricket, but football and many other sports. When we do go to our international counterparts, you know, our fitness is something that lets us down quite a bit of the time. And you can see that even under those hot conditions, we're in it at the end of the game, right? We're in it at the end of the innings. We had guys batting long, and we mentioned that a lot of we know we got the talent, but we get to 30 and 40 and
then we had the mental lapse.
Let me get that big one to get 50.
Yeah.
You know, not worrying about let me get a big one to get 100. Let me get a big one to get 50, right?
Right.
So that's our way. We always want to bring it up in a style, right?
Yeah. I mean that's what they call it, calypso cricket.
Exactly, right. But like I said, I was a bit upset when Kamal and Delray was unable to get them their first match there. But see those guys batting a leaving turn, you know, and then even when you saw I tell you, I'm really being impressed with also Zico Burgess. Zico Burgess and Malachi. And I'm gonna say why. Because Zico Burgess, we know he has the pace. GPS is
not always on target. Yeah.
Pretty good. Kamal, we know what we get. Kamal, we know what we get from Derek. We know what we get from Delray. We know that.
Right.
Malachi, I've been surprised because him burning a bit of slight medium spinning, but he's been burning stump to stump.
Right.
Been burning stump to stump and just using just different variations.
Yeah, because he's got 6 wickets. 6 wickets for 45. Kamal's got 5 for 36. Malachi's got 4 for 60. Zico's got 4 for 72. Derek's got 3 for 65, and Justin's got 1 for 32.
Yeah, and if you look even closer into Derek's numbers and also Zico's numbers, they basically had 2 bad overs. You know, they had like 2 bad overs. Like Braggy he got hit. But they basically 2 bad overs that's why the numbers look. But for the most part, if you take those 2 bad overs away, so we see that and great work by Sinclair. He's doing a fabulous job back there, man. And you can see the confidence in the boys. So I'm looking forward. It's gonna be interesting because now we're talking about doing this tournament prior to the season. That will be a tournament that's gonna be at the end of our season. Actually, our season will be over, and hopefully they're looking at probably stretching it out as much as possible.
Well, you remember football season will get underway Labor Day.
Yeah,
and this tournament is not scheduled to start until the 28th.
Yeah.
So we know that one football field will not be in operation at the beginning of the season. That's going to be White Hill, and if they have to use St. David's, that'll be 2.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those things, and I'm pretty sure that both the field operators.
But if you look at it, Earl, when does the league start? And that's because
October, the first week last week in September.
All right, so they might not miss if they miss 1 or 2. That's all they're going to really miss.
They'll probably miss 2 weeks. Nobody's going to want to run on a hard wicket right after that. No, you don't want to hit that thing that's
you might want to run on it. You don't want to fall on it. There's a difference.
What's that?
You might want to run on it. You just don't want to fall on it.
Right. Which is a big difference. Yeah, that sudden stop on that. No, sir. You don't want no parts of that. No parts of it. But actually, let's take another commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've seen as far as the coverage of this particular event. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seen this?
And welcome back. Well, Jay, we've been able to watch these games through the ICC TV. It's a free service, much like we were able to watch the warm-up matches and the matches in the US through YouTube. But what's your thoughts on what you've been able to see through that coverage?
Well, first things first, I want to say thank you to the ICC who are now able to see some of our matches, right? That is something that, 10 years ago, it was so hard to imagine that how can we see when we play in these remote areas to get some coverage. But what Earl, we're both in this space, this media space, and we've seen so many things happen just over the last 3 years, matter of fact, how much has improved when it comes to sports or local sports or even international sports. So I look at it like this. Prior to COVID, right, there was always talk about big productions to do a lot of events. Mm-hmm. And during COVID and the improvement with technology when it comes to streaming and Wi-Fi speed and on and on and on, we've seen now very small skeleton crews cover many sports, not just cricket, but we see even with the we saw with FIFA with our boys who were down the islands the other day.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Under 17.
Was there about 3-4 cameras that were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normally would have, if we would have had a big production, we would have won at least 8 to 10, right?
Yeah.
So to give you a prime example, when we talk about cup match, you're looking at anywhere from 6 to 8. Mm-hmm. But then when I'm looking at this, right? I'm looking at 4, maybe 5. Right. So then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, hold on. That brings it into our range now, because normally when we have these international tournaments, we normally see international media come to cover.
Yeah.
And pretty much have been allowed to do because of they will claim that skill sets is not available here for this, that, and the other. Right. Well, when I'm looking at what I'm seeing now, we've got that skill set here. Yeah. Right. And I say that because if we're watching that game, what we watch our boys play compared to the Women's World Cup, you see the total difference.
Yeah. That's a production.
We're not ready for that.
No.
We're nowhere ready for that, right?
Yeah.
But to see what they're producing as a standard,
Yes.
that's brought it back in our wheelhouse because these are things that we can do here and what we do here. So these are some of the opportunities, not only just locally for the for getting people to work, because we have so many people in the media industry who have suffered over the last couple of years through COVID, but also the opportunity for sponsorship. And that is something that we talk about it all the time because thank goodness for ICC, they took it on, right? But this is something now that is opportunity for sponsorship. And I say sponsorship because here we go again. When we have sponsorship, now guess what? It can go both ways. It can also help our players, help more programs, help us to travel more, help us to do certain other things, right? That when there is a limited amount of funds, we can't do. So we know TV rights and TV streaming is a huge deal in every major sport in the world. Yeah. Most sports right now are not even relying on gate receipts to survive.
No. They don't. That's not even a concern right now. Yeah, it's all through.
And we was really shocked. I was really shocked because let's go back to the Olympics. They didn't care if nobody was coming.
That's right. They made the money off of their television rights.
The Olympics said whatever they said. They don't want you here. You're not coming.
Yeah, empty stadiums. Yeah.
So COVID taught us, hey, I don't know what you think. Oh, 60,000, 100,000. Look, these rights, we'll make up for it. And so, So once again, I just want to put that out there too, especially for our people who are here locally in the media, because we've seen our partnership locally, our local media companies partner with the PGA. We've seen us partner with CLGP. And use our skills. Right. And I'm just hoping that coming the end of this year, we're not going to rely on outside companies to come down and do something that we personally should be able to do. Now, in saying that, I think that it should be something that should be talked about, and even given the opportunity to do some stuff throughout the year.
Right.
Yeah. So that is something. Now, maybe ICC might have some parameters because we always hear that, okay, they only allow X, Y, Z. At least let everybody know up ahead of time, because once again, I'm not even talking about the older heads in the media industry. We have a lot of young people, Earl, as you know, that are very, very much in the media industry, and they are good. Man, that it's hard to even keep them up because you want to give them some exposure, right? And I mean, we're not just talking about commentating. See, everybody thinks when you talk about media, we're just talking about commentating. No, we're talking cameraman, gaffers, switchers. Production, post-production, pre-production, graphics, man. We can go on and on and on. How many jobs? And we pull it off. When we do Cup match, we pull it off. But like I said, to see what we saw for World Cup, and then to see what we saw down in Argentina, I know we could pull that off. Hands down.
If given the opportunity. That's all you want is the opportunity.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me what you think there, because
I'm in the same boat as you, brother. I'm in the same boat as you. I honestly believe that there's enough companies in Bermuda that have proven over the years that they can do what we've been watching in Argentina. Yeah. And all they need to know is what the parameters are that the ICC require. And if it has to go through another server, then it goes to that server. If they want it on ICC TV, whatever, it could be done through that. But what I keep saying this, what I don't want to see is a whole bunch of people come and the locals are again to stand over there, wait your turn, and then we'll get to you. Because we see it happening over and over and over. We do all the donkey work in the lead up to it. Oh, can you interview us and get us out there so we can get the people here? And the minute the competition starts, hey, yo, you guys are Bermudians, you go over there.
You've seen it happen too many times, Earl. Yeah. And I'm not calling it any sport because we've seen it across the board. So it's not it's it's not even funny anymore. That's because
It's very frustrating.
and I say this because we have young people that are inspiring to do something. And what do I tell them? I say, no, well, we need to do this, X, Y, Z. But then when they see this, it says, well, how come?
Yeah.
How come?
Mm-hmm.
How come? And I'm like, I have no answers for them. I really have no answers for them because, but it's something that we can. And I say that because my dream, and I'm seeing it as a dream, Earl. I'm seeing it as a dream, right? Every international sport we have, anytime our boys go or our women go or our juniors go, every time we leave this country, I think we should have our own media team travel with them. So you're not hearing the biasness of a foreign entity reporting it back to us.
Right.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
Rather be on a small, because now we have the technology to do it.
To that, yeah. The one thing I would say, Jay, sports is only taken into consideration when we're winning.
And this is so.
And you've seen it across the board. When we're gonna win up, boy, look out.
Well, I just think about it, Earl. Think of the last conversations we heard when the boys were in Africa.
Yeah.
Most of the same team.
Well, let me just say, think about I don't know if you saw, but if you were watching the under-17 team on YouTube, and to see some of the comments that were made about under-17 players because they were losing, I was appalled. And again, I always say this: if you're not prepared to put your proper name down to anything, don't put nothing down under an alias and nobody knows who you are.
It's amazing how we beat them at that point, but we haven't praised them to get to that point.
Thank you. Yeah. Because it's easy to beat a dead horse while it's down, But if he gets up, you better start running. Yeah.
And as we know in sports, the greatest have an off day.
That's right.
So we take all those things in consideration, but no, we take a snapshot of a moment and we make a broad brush of what we feel at the time. And unfortunately, we have to do better. We just have to do better. Because when we talk about young people, man, that could really, some people, it's hard. It's hard emotionally, right? But in saying that, I know these young people, they'll be going, that team, I believe now, actually, for the most of them, time out and go up to the next division, and the teams that they have been playing, most of those players will go up to the next. So they're going to be having some battles coming up if they stay together. And I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And that's why we need, once you just said, that's why we need our fans, which we are fanatic. We need to stay behind because this is not the end of the road. That's just, it's the
end of that competition.
Yep.
But there's always more competition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that could be a learning something too, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of teaching moments in that game, right? But it's something that
was probably one of the first times that particular team was down and had to figure out how to come back. Okay, it didn't work out, but I bet you any money they'll take that learning curve, and next time they're down, they'll do things a little differently.
Everything that possibly could probably go wrong for them went wrong.
Yeah.
And that happens. That in sports, that happens. Okay, so I mean, it's hard at the time because we're all emotional at the time. We're all got these expectations. But once again, I mean, I hear people even when the boys first went to the World Cup in
2007.
Yeah. Oh well, they only went because they changed. Well,
if they didn't make it,
thank you.
It'd have been worse.
They changed. You okay with that?
Yeah.
And I'll probably hear it again. Well, they only get into this. They only get this opportunity now for this IT tournament because they. So if we did get this far,
yeah. Well, we've been brought up to read negativity about ourselves so often we believe it.
And Earl, and this is once again, this is why I think is so needed for us as a country to make sure that we have our media giving our positive side to our narratives, because a lot of times we're depending on somebody else to lead our narrative.
Yeah.
And most times it probably wouldn't be good.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I just
All right, Jay.
thought.
Yeah. Stay at the wicket, the runs will come.
That's what they say. I'm coming at one eye, one got up. I'm trying to figure which one it is, though.
Well, don't worry. Like you said, keep it on the fuzzy thing.
Yeah, I know. You got your fingers crossed and your toes crossed and your arms crossed this week. So, good luck.
What's that for?
Come on, man. Come on, Earl. You know, I watching these shows. You've been glowing. I'm surprised you even got a yellow shirt on. You know,
It's almost Saturday night.
I just enjoy this in general. I gotta say that, you know, football and cricket, everything right now seems to be good. Yeah, I can't remember the time that your football and cricket has been on the same path.
Wow.
I mean, can you remember the day when your football and your cricket was? Well, cricket's they've already, you know, had some accolades this year. Well, last year, can you remember when the football and cricket was together like that? I can. Not in my lifetime.
Hasn't happened.
So I mean, hey, good luck about it. You're not gonna
I tell you what, come Saturday night, it could turn, if they were to pull it off and beat PAC, it turns the league on its head, but it opens the door for Devonshire Cougars to walk in.
I was just gonna say that. I was just talking to Ray Glasser down at the field training session tonight, and it's like, man, he said we haven't seen a race like this for a minute. 4 teams separated by 3 points, and I said, well, Eddie, first division sit. He says, man, I ain't been watching that. I said, it ain't like 4 points. 4 points in.
That's right.
So I said,
everybody has 3 games left, mate.
I said, so it's. I said, a draw doesn't even help you right now. You know,
for PHC, a draw is okay for them
because they're on top,
right? Although they would help, they still have to play Cougars.
Yes,
right. So a draw, destiny is still in their hands.
Yes,
a loss then puts pressure on because they have to win.
Have to win, yeah.
Right. If St. George's lose, pretty much puts them out of the title race.
Yeah. But brings
the FA Cup semi-final.
Bring North Village into play now.
Right. They've got a tricky game on Sunday as well because they play Boulevard.
But I think that last game is the last
against St. George's. Village's last game's against St. George's.
That right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say it now, if PAC don't get a victory, come down to that last game.
And the funny thing down in the East, and I don't know if everybody's paying attention to it, the top teams that are close to them, they've lost to them at home.
I was gonna say that. Where is that last game to?
I don't know. Remember, St. George's beat them 4-0 up at Bernard Park.
Right. Yeah, because and they haven't solved PAC yet either.
No. Well, remember, they lost 3-1 to PAC and 3-0 to PAC, and both of those matches were at Wellington Oval.
And PAC jumped on them early.
Yeah. The only scenario that I brought it up on Sunday night, PAC, other than beating Hamilton Parish in the FA Cup in extra time, have lost their night games at PHC this season. So there's always that opportunity.
It's always been interesting, and I'll be honest with you, that injury to Cash Hall is going to be, hopefully he'll be fit, because you always want to have the best players available for these matches, right? So hopefully that, but once again, it's going to be, I followed it, and you know, when you hear teams are coming away with victories where they're not playing the best,
right?
That's the team you watch out for.
Yeah.
That's the team.
There's a lot of people critical of teams that they didn't play, but did they win? You can't be critical of you can't be critical of PHC, St. George's, Devonshire Cougars, and North Village because they're top of the table, and if they're not playing well, they're done enough to get over the hump in each game to be in the position they're in.
I don't think nobody besides probably Devonshire Cougars was looking at Devonshire Cougars as a title contender 6 weeks ago.
No, they weren't.
Christmas time.
Yeah. Injuries, player shortage, all that stuff. Yeah.
All of that stuff, right? And we're seeing many lineups of Derbyshire Cougars, but what they've been able to do since Christmas.
Season, yeah.
Since Christmas. And I've seen players play in different positions. I've never thought I'd see them play. But once again, to see them where they are. And like I said, some of those games, not convincing. I mean, we looked at that one game where I believe it was Cougars and Zebras at the Dan, that night game. That was a bomb. For the most part, they've just been just enough.
That's enough, yeah.
They haven't scored a lot of goals compared to St. George's or PAC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I want to say they may have the best. They may have allowed the least amount of goals. Not by much. It's not by much. It's by 1 or 2 goals. They're North Village and they're all close.
Yeah.
But I want to say they're pretty. They're the first or second.
Cougars are giving up 14. North Village are only giving up 13.
Right, second.
Georgia are giving up 15, and PHC's giving up 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're getting across the line with minimum scores. And once again, I would not the dark horse for me is Derbyshire Cougars, because I think when I look at their remaining schedule, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Well, everybody's got to get across week by week, and this week is vital.
Yeah,
this week is vital, and I'm pretty sure, as I said on Saturday night, you're gonna have both Village and Cougars up PHC rooting for St. George's.
They all need to be home to get some rest.
But they're gonna want St. George's to win, boy.
Just call somebody up there who's up there. Just let me know how it is up there, buddy. Let that happen.
And it's funny because the same 2 teams meet again on Wednesday night in the semifinal of the FA at Derbyshire Rec.
And that's probably more telling than anything, right? Because PAC is still in. Well, both teams are still in it, right?
Yeah.
But
they play each other.
But once again, PAC we're looking for trouble, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I don't want you didn't want air pressure, but
hey, listen. As I said about a team like Paget.
What the boys from Ordre going to do? They coming up or what? Can we get excited for the boys at Ordre?
They got enough to get up. But they got a very tricky game this weekend. Because as I said, everybody's going to want to play North Village in that semifinal.
Yeah.
On Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
So a 50-50 tackle this weekend becomes a 70-30. I ain't getting injured. I ain't getting the card.
What I tell you, for me, it's when you watch First Division, and you watch it too, but when you watch First Division, I just wait to what time look by my watch. What time players start losing their heads, especially if they go down 1-0 or 2-0.
After hour, man. After hour. They're tired. Tiredness creeps in.
I don't really have, and when we used to do the show, and we used to have these bets and all these things. I have to tell you all the time, you can throw all that stuff out to do it, because these guys come 60, 65th minute. That's when you start watching football, because trust me, it will show you the difference. And you see that because once these teams come up to the Premier Division, they get exposed.
Yeah.
Just based on time.
Yep.
So be interested. I would definitely be I'm actually off Saturday night, so I just might make my way down to PAC.
You better wrap yourself up. It's damp down there at night.
I just said I was staying. I just said ain't no club to go sit in VIP and sit off to,
Don't work towards that.
I'm going somewhere be warm, and then hello.
Okay.
Tell me the school, Earl.
You can always go to the bill and watch it from there.
Just think about Days views. You go sit up in the tracks, Earl.
Yeah. That's even damp up there, boss.
Hey, you imagine Earl? We used to go sit up in the tracks, Earl. And we'll miss a game.
No.
We had.
But you had to get up there early. You had to get up there early.
You had to get up early. Well, see, I was young, so I get to poke in and sit off like a rock or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But back then, you had your umbrellas ready, and you had the scarves, and you been prepared.
Yeah.
I look at the forecast. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen tonight.
Not today.
So, a glorious experience. But yeah, I want, like I said, I'm just keeping my eyes on, especially our local boys, in internationally, because they need. Like I said, there's so many times where we hear these people beating our boys down, and to see them really taking a professional approach down there, I'm overjoyed. And once again, congratulations to Kamala. Hey, Delray, you next.
Yeah.
You next.
Actually, no. You know what? Wait until you do it her. Do it her.
No, do it again. No, do it down there. Do it again, man. Come on now.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Take care.
You too. Have a good night, folks.